Welcome to the Contrarians, where we are right and you are wrong. I'm Julio.
And I'm Alex. Here on the show, we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. For the first half of each episode, Contrarians Corner, we trash the fresh red tomatoes and praise the rotten green splotches, making our case any way we can.
The aptly titled Real Talk serves as the second half of each episode. This is where we discuss our true feelings on the movie we're covering. For more information on our podcast and to browse past episodes, you can head over to our website, wearethecontrarians.com.
From there, you can also access our Patreon and merchandise, because capitalism.
If you enjoy our attempts at comedic film discussions, we encourage you to subscribe and leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you use.
If you'd like to reach out to us directly, that's what social media is for. You can find us on most platforms as @ContrarianPrime.
You can also see what we look like if you go to youtube.com/@ContrarianPrime, and you can contact us by email at wearethecontrarians@gmail.com.
I think that covers it.
Then it's time for the podcast. And we are recording for Contrarians Corner for Green Room, not Green Book, Alex. We're already
Damn
done
it,
that
you already
one.
killed my joke. I was going to start it off by saying, Julio, are you sure we haven't done this before? Viggo Mortensen, Mahershala Ali?
I mean, also a lot of racial conflict in that movie.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely racial conflict here that's just not brought to the forefront. Sadly, no Linda Cardellini either.
No. What's even further to the front than the forefront? Because that's what this is.
I mean, they do have fucking rebel flags and shit flying, swastikas etched into the walls like you would etch a band's logo into your desk in elementary school. But anyway, Green Room. And yes, welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. My name is Alex, joined as always by my Peruvian cohort, Julio. Julio, it is Oscar Sunday. It is the morning after the seismic and catastrophic John Cena heel turn that is, we're feeling ripples throughout not just the wrestling world, but the world at large. And we're recording also in the morning. And so with all this swirling around in our heads, why not watch this movie, eh? This is, I was not ready for this much tension. I had not had my morning caffeine yet. And by like halfway through this movie, I was like, fuck. So I'm already exhausted on my Sunday here before noon.
Did Cena, when he turned heel, did he start speaking German?
He shaved his head, yes.
Okay.
I mean, half of it's already gone, so he was just giving in. But this is a patron demand, I believe.
That it is. Our friend John Menta from The Pint. No explanation. He just said Green Room. You know what to do.
And now he's listening to this going, fuck, I meant Green Book. I wanted them to revisit it. The 2015 A24. I knew of this movie, and I'm not exactly sure how. It was one of these I kind of just had perpetually, bookmarked to return to. Because I'm looking at, obviously the cast is a mesh of names and that guys. But I'm looking over the director here, Jeremy Saulnier. I haven't seen any of his other entries, so I'm not entirely sure how I would have come across this.
Maybe it might have gotten some extra notoriety when Anton Yelchin passed away.
Yeah,
it's not his last one, but I think it might be in his second to last one.
Yeah, the outstanding film Thoroughbreds was released posthumously, I believe, and I think that was 2017. Yeah, he passed the next year after this in 2016.
I mean, he gets a dedication, or at least my version of the movie did.
Mm.
Where did you watch it?
Amazon Prime.
Okay, me too. So you got it too.
Jeremy Saulnier, the director here, was a cinematographer on I Used to Be Darker, which was a movie from 2013 that I have seen. So some vague familiarities with them. But Green Room here, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. At its time, I was looking into a little bit of contemporary reporting. It premiered at Cannes in May of 2015 to a pretty positive reaction. Delivers maximum shock and awe is the quote on the poster for the film.
This is a George Bush W quote.
Yes, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, certified fresh with a 75% popcorn meter rating. percentage. I don't know. The popcorn bucket is erect, looks very tantalizing and red. So, point of the story, this is a well-regarded film that's here in the first half. We'll, I don't know, be talking about the stupidity of white people.
Can't get out of their own way.
Budget of $5 million, box office return of a little under 4. And yeah, I think let's just start off here, Julio. Captain Picard is the leader of like this Nazi commune. That's it. Goodbye, folks.
Sweet, adorable Captain Picard.
Professor X just, fanning the flames of hate here.
That's his British voice seems out of place. I don't know. I know that there's white supremacists all over the world, but I kind of feel like America has taking over the monopoly as far as taking up the news. Or maybe it's just because we mostly capture American news, and so whenever I see a white supremacist that does not have an American accent, I'm just like, oh, that's weird. He couldn't try a little harder.
That is the comedy of it. Like, you would think Jeremy, the director here, would have been like, all right, so we're going to put like a camouflage hat on you, and you're going to be like, have a huge thing of dip in your mouth at all times and talk with a Southern accent. And Patrick Stewart's like, I won't be doing that. And he just showed up and he just did the Patrick Stewart performance, but as a fucking head Nazi here.
It's like, let me school you on white supremacy across the ocean. We have it as well.
Have you been knighted? Because I have. I will not be doing this the way you tell me to do this. All right, Julio. Well, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes means you probably had a pretty good amount of fresh quotes to pull from. Which ones did you bring for this episode today?
No one wants to starve, but when you take it all virtual, you lose the texture.
All right, over 200 Rotten Tomatoes quotes. Here's a handful of fresh tomatoes. We're going to start with Chris McCoy from Memphis Flyer, who says, Green Room is punk as hell, and it makes me eager to see Saulnier's next outing. Punk as hell, Alex. We recently...
Punk as fuck.
Yes. How do you think Kyle Gallner would feel about Green Room? Specifically about the band in Green Room.
He would probably appreciate the fact that they opened their set condemning Nazis while performing to Nazis. I thought that was good. Knowing how much of a drifter and kind of a swindler he is, though, I think the movie, if it was Kyle Gallner's character from Dinner America, would have been like 10 minutes long. He would have figured out how to get the fuck out of there.
Yes. And also, I'm glad that you clarified that we're talking about Kyle Gallner's character in Dinner America, because if you're not a patron, you might have been a little lost. You might have been like, what do you guys know about Kyle Gallner that we don't? And what we know is that he was in a really good movie called Dinner in America. We covered it on Patreon, so check that out. But yeah, as soon as I saw that quote, punk as hell, I'm like, oh yeah. I wonder if Patty would have liked this movie. She probably would have survived a little longer than...
she would have snapped and killed everybody.
Yeah. And then had sex over their bodies. With Kyle Gallner. Next, Robert Kosher from Flickering Myth says, Patrick Stewart is flat out awesome in the role of a neo-Nazi and will undoubtedly be the selling point of Green Room. This is what we call stunt casting, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, we couldn't go 5 minutes without bringing it up. That's the thing, really, that this movie will be known for when it came out, I think. It was...
and he gets like a reveal shot like fucking Matt Damon in Interstellar. It's like, oh, yeah.
If Matt Damon was bald. Because
yeah, there you go.
It's like a shot from behind, and then he takes his hat off, and then you see the dome. And you're like, oh, it's Patrick Stewart. Did you know it was him before he took the hat off?
His voice is pretty unmistakable.
But your mind wasn't like trying to like make sense of it.
I did think it was weird that he was like, hello, Logan.
Next, Richard Von Busek from Metroactive says, Green Room is as strangely involving as any movie contained by the bloody hillbilly attack genre. Alex, are you aware of the hillbilly attack genre?
I mean, that's the fucking premise of Ozark, pretty much. And we've talked about this in some of the episodes and some of the fucking QVRs we've done of like backwoods white people, man. don't want to fuck with that at all.
Have you ever seen what's the movie with the banjo thing that everybody...
Deliverance, yeah.
Is that the first instance of a bloody hillbilly attack genre?
I think on the silver screen, perhaps, but not IRL. My dad, my grandpa owned an auto shop and also had like a tow truck and a wrecker, and he sometimes had to repossess cars. And my dad said he would go out on those like adventures, I guess you'd call them. He'd go out on those assignments with them, and he talked about a few times when they would get in like the backwoods of fucking, the Midwest and Ohio and shit. And his dad was like, lock the door, don't go out, and sometimes have like a gun on the dash because like that's just the point. Backwoods white folks are not to be trifled with.
Jesus.
They'll sell you on their kindness and their hospitality, but the next thing you know, you're getting eaten.
I think it's safe to assume that nobody in your family would ever play a gig at one of these bars.
No.
Good.
I could hear my dad just saying, like, if one of us did and ended up getting killed, he'd be like, well, that's what they get for fucking around with people they don't know.
All right. We're going to close with Rain Jonathan from S-Fist. What the fuck? Maybe it's SF Iced? Whatever. A movie whose most horrifying concept is that these days it doesn't seem that far-fetched. And this was back when the movie came out, Alex. That's when this review was dropped. It probably still applies. Not probably, surely. It's certainty. Still applies today. I think that the difference now would be that the neo-Nazis wouldn't even bother covering their tracks.
I was about to say, they're a lot more proud. They don't hide it like in communes like this. Now they go out in public and, let their thoughts be known.
I think they would execute all the bad members and then post it on social media, and it would get a like from Trump. That's how it would play out.
Hashtag good guy with a gun or some shit like that.
Yes. Hashtag bad people on both sides. All right. With that depressing reality check, let's go into Contrarians Corner.
Those of you attending the racial advocacy workshop on Wednesday, assume it's on unless you hear otherwise. And remember, this is a movement, not a party.
Pat, Sam, Reese, and Tiger are members of a punk band, the Ain't Rights. Traveling through the Pacific Northwest. After their gig is canceled, a local radio host, Tad, arranges a show through his cousin Daniel at a neo-Nazi skinhead bar in the woods outside Portland, opening for the Nazi metal band Cowcatcher. Go ahead and review our cast here. Pat, Anton Yelkin. Sam is Elia Shawkat.
Yes. Maybe funky.
Yeah. There's a part in this where I thought she asks, like, is it locked? And the person responds to her other side, maybe. And I was like, wait, are they? It took me, it derailed my mental train of thought there for a second. But yeah, the only things I know her from are Arrested Development and The League. And so this was certainly a change of pace.
Yeah, I think she's always going to be maybe, no matter what else she does.
That's fair.
That's good for her. I mean, I hope she's proud of what she did there. But yeah, she's in a bunch of movies and TV shows. She always shows up. You're like, hey, maybe. And here I was like, oh no, maybe.
Tiger is played by Callum Turner and Reese by Joe Cole. Not overly familiar with these folks here.
Callum Turner, Alex. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not like I figured this out when I saw him, but looking at the filmographies, Callum Turner is actually in Contrarians canon.
Oh yeah? How so?
Apparently, he was in Assassin's Creed.
Well, on to more pressing matters. So yeah, they're this punk band, this roaming punk band that they think they have this gig, and then it doesn't work out. So he's like, I know where you can play. And this is why Jimmy Fallon's character in Almost Famous exists. You need a fucking manager for this shit, because they just show up like on the approach. Julio, you and I have common sense. What would you do? A fucking U-turn once you see like the setup and everything, and once you see the clientele. He even tells them, he doesn't tell them flat out they're Nazis, but he's like, just be sure to play your earlier stuff, the heavier stuff. And yeah, it's just doomed from the start. This is like white people shit. It's like, yeah, of course they're gonna hang around. What's going on over here?
I couldn't believe that the constant red flags, not even red flags at this point. It's just like neon lights giving them a warning of like what they're getting into, and they just keep going. I understand they need the money, but they also need to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like the movie goes on to show us, oh well, these kids know that they can handle whatever is going to happen. right? As soon as shit hits the fan, with the exception of maybe one of them, it shows that none of them are equipped to handle violence or extreme tension or anything. So why would they be so confident going into like the lion's den, so to speak? You're right. Like from the beginning, it's just very hostile and very, they know they're playing for Nazis. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's why they play that song at the beginning. It's also like really weird. But also, Alex, I wonder if you found some sort of kinship with the fact that these people don't believe in social media. They don't believe in pressing albums. They're all about like just playing live and keeping music pure that way. Mm-hmm. Did that resonate with you as like they're true artists, or are they just posers?
I guess I was, again, just kind of dumbfounded at them just hanging around to really dive into the mental psyche of their artistic nature and their artistic integrity is what I meant to say there. But yeah, I mean, sorry, we're coming off the heels of Dinner in America, where I really believed in Kyle Gallner's fight there, and here I'm just like, all right, let's go, Scotty, speed this up here. Yeah,
I had to think that maybe they just thought that the fact that they were real artists would protect them. When they went to play. Yes.
It provides like a cloak of invincibility. We're artists. We can't be hurt. Yeah, I'm sure you ever like ended up in a place like that not like necessarily a Nazi compound, but you know, you get invited somewhere or you end up like going to a show or like you ever just walk into a bar and you're like, I should not be here, and then turn around and leave.
Yes, I remember mostly, you know, when I lived in Peru, I didn't drive. Yeah. And so I would walk everywhere. Or take a cab, right? Or take the bus. But usually I would I'll just walk. And there were a couple times where it was the middle of the night and I was walking and it was an area that wasn't populated. And then I would see like people walking in my direction and I would think, maybe I shouldn't walk. And I would take a cab. The one time that I didn't take a cab and I just kept walking, I got mugged. So
shit.
Yes, I know that feeling where you start getting the sense that you made a bad decision and maybe you should turn around and go somewhere else, alter the course. But here, these guys, I mean, they get invited to the White House, like the inauguration for Trump, and they're like, sure, we'll open.
Yeah, there's one time, was it Memphis or Nashville? I'm trying to remember. Somewhere in Tennessee, me and my buddies were just roaming around and found a bar, like, let's go in here. There's pool tables. And then like, kind of like looking around and observing the clientele, like, oh, this is like a whites only type of place. We probably shouldn't like hang around here that long.
You didn't get on stage and start singing a song demeaning their beliefs?
No, we finished our game of pool and promptly exited. So, but yes, point being, I think everyone can relate to the idea of kind of ending up someplace you get the idea that you probably shouldn't be. The difference here is these guys are going to play for fucking $30. After the show, Pat returns to the green room to retrieve Sam's phone. He sees the body of a girl, Emily, who has been stabbed to death by Worm, a member of Cowcatcher. Pat calls the police, but the bar employees Gabe and Big Justin. I'm so used to the Costco guys, excuse me. Confiscate the band's phones and hold them captive in the green room. Gabe pays a skinhead to stab another to create a cover story for the police who respond to the call. He consults with the bar owner and skinhead leader Darcy, who decides to kill the band to eliminate witnesses. Now, Big Justin here, perennial that guy.
Where do you know him from? Because I thought it was the guy from Stranger Things, but it's not.
Eric Edelstein. Pretty sure he was... Yeah, he was a reoccurring character on Parks and Rec, just like one of the townspeople that showed up to complain at the meetings and shit.
Complain about minorities?
And yes, Workaholics. I remember him from Workaholics.
How about Gabe, Alex? Gabe is in Contrarians Corner as well.
Gabe is played by Macon Blair. Uh-huh. He's Oppenheimer's attorney, right?
Oh, is he?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Okay, so then what were you bringing?
Well, he was the alternate John Golson in Thunder Road. Remember the scene where he goes to talk to the teacher?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I immediately was like, hey, that's Oppenheimer's attorney. I just kept seeing his nervous face and shit.
Don't talk and don't touch them. Stay put. It's fine.
What the fuck happened?
Just give me a minute. Something terrible.
Well, Macon Blair really. So he starred in Blue Ruin, which is the movie that Jeremy Saulnier made before Green Room. And Blue Ruin was kind of like the one that blew up. My understanding is that that's the one that got him into the big leagues. And in that movie, Macon Blair is the main guy. He's just this, it's kind of a revenge movie and he's the protagonist. But the gimmick of the movie is that he doesn't have the stomach really to be an action hero. And so a lot of the movie is him like killing someone or getting close to killing someone and then throwing up or getting really badly hurt and so on. And so that's why it's quirky. I don't like it that much. But the point is he did lead that first movie. And then it kind of sucks that for the follow-up, Jeremy Saulnier demoted him to where he is Patrick Stewart's sidekick. And it just gets manhandled and yelled at and condescended to through the entire movie. On one hand, it was like, if it's going to happen, at least it's happening from Patrick Stewart, right? He's the one that's making you feel like shit. But also, I wonder how many times he thought, dude, I was headlining Blue Ruin.
Also in the fold here, the actual cousin, Daniel, whatever, Mark Webber, who I don't know if we've actually had him in a movie that we've covered, but he's another that guy. Probably most well known for his role in Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, is he part of the band?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it's a sad state of affairs in America when you see all these skinheads and you're like, they all look familiar. I don't know if it's from the news or...
I mean, all white people look the same, so...
That too.
Yeah, my note here says, oh shit, Professor X. We get the big reveal of Patrick Stewart. Also, not quite as big of a reveal, but because she's so fresh on our minds after our adventure last year, Imogen Poots appears here and quickly becomes, what would you say, the second in this movie?
Yes. Alia Shawkat is like, hey, what happened? I'm actually in the band and I am not neo-Nazi. What's going on? Did you find yourself missing her wacky New York accent?
Definitely not. I was like, this was a breath of fresh air. As much of like a strung out loser she is, I was like, thank God. There was only one movie. It showed something called Night of Cups, and that's what is sandwiched in between She's Funny That Way and Green Room.
Jesus, Night of Cups is a Terrence Malick joint. So,
oh God. What a three-peat she had going here. Anyway, Imogen Poots is here. And like I said, looking quite strung out.
She has I'm paraphrasing, but she basically says, I'm not a Nazi. I'm just friends with some Nazis. Right? Like, she gets called out and it's like, distinction.
She's exactly what we're talking about. She just, I'm just tagging along with my friend to buy pot. And then I end up getting killed. Like, awful lighting in this thing. It could have just been the transfer on Amazon Prime, but it took me a second to recognize Imogen Poots because the fucking lighting was so dark.
I mean, the bangs didn't do her any favors.
Not quite May, December, but, in the same... it exists in the same universe. The band overpowers Big Justin. I'm just going to call this dude Big Justice. I'm sorry. The band overpowers Big Justice and holds him hostage, taking a box cutter from his pocket and his pistol. One of the band members here was training at Shootbox in the lead up to this because he's showing off all his sweet MMA techniques and shit.
I was wondering if you had opinions on his technique.
Shootbox would have been a bit, that's more like brawling style. But yeah, he was trying to show off his Charlie Oliveira armbar here and rear naked choke at one point, which both of those, the principle of those is quite clear. And he held the dude in the armbar forever. It's like pro wrestling. That's one of those moves that you either do it or you don't. And he eventually did. But
yeah, eventually, an hour later, he finally.
He's just like resting there in a fucking full locked armbar. I'm like, this guy, come on.
My favorite moment in that sequence is when they do the cut to Chuck Liddell's reaction. And he just can't believe what's happening.
Chuck's like, finish it. That's nothing to fuck around with, those out there. If you do watch pro wrestling, I laugh every time there's an armbar. That's one of those like suspension of disbeliefs. Drunk grappling one time with my friend John. I got him in an armbar and like we were just playing around and I almost broke his arm, just like going halfway. And so for those of you out there, armbar is a very good technique if you need to get out of some situation because it works and it is very effective and quickly. Big Justin here learned that the hard way. They negotiate through the door with Darcy, who asks them to surrender the pistol. Pat agrees, but as he opens the door, Emily's friend Amber realizes it's a trap. Darcy and his men slash at Pat's arm with machetes until he drops the gun, but he closes the door. Justin then attacks the band, but Reese chokes him into unconsciousness. When Justin surprises Reese by awaking again, Reese chokes him again, and Amber cuts him with a box cutter to confirm that he is dead. That whole sequence is fucked up, man. The dude's already got his arm broken, and then...
I mean, it's his fault, Alex. He didn't stay down.
He didn't. It's true. And then, yeah...
Does he clothesline Imogen Poots?
He did, yeah. Like, he fucking ragdolls her with some shit, you know, and I thought, like, it was going to knock her out because she hit the back of her head really hard. It's... there's a lot going on here, a lot of violence.
Nothing is perhaps more shocking than... not that Anton Yelchin's arm gets cut to shreds, but that he and the group decide that it's a good idea to give up the gun. That is the worst decision in the entire movie. Even worse than actually playing the gig. I think you have a gun, you have 5 cartridges, not bullets, cartridges, and you're going to give that up because you trust the Nazis? Come on.
Well, and also the rationale from Captain Picard here is ridiculous. He like scares them just by saying the firearm is unregistered, you know? So like you're even in more trouble now if you shoot off that unregistered weapon. It's like they just saw this person get stabbed to death. I don't think they should be worrying about the legalities of what's going on here.
Yeah, I think if you didn't have a corpse in the room with you, maybe you can argue, but you don't just have the corpse, but the big Justin has been pointing a gun at you and making it very clear that he would shoot you for the past 30 minutes. So I couldn't believe how lenient they were, like the band, when dealing with these people. The fact that, one, they don't break Big Justin's arm right away. I was like, why not? Fucking kill him. And then when Imogen Poots finally sliced that guy up, I was like, finally, somebody has some sense. And of course, it would be the one outsider, the one that's not part of the band. And then Anton Yelchin just giving up their one weapon, the one thing that would guarantee that if they go down, at least they take 5 Nazis down with them. An embarrassing performance from these kids.
Okay. We'll give you the gun. But we're going to keep the ammo.
Searching for a way out, the band discovers an underground drug lab, but the only exit is locked from the outside. Arming themselves with improvised weapons, they exit the green room into an empty club. A skinhead, Clark, unleashes an attack dog, which kills Tiger. Amber and Pat drive the dog away with microphone feedback. Reese flees through a window, but is hacked to death by a skinhead. They just have no plan here, and I was shocked at how quickly they started picking these fuckers off. Because honestly, we're probably 50 minutes into the movie at this point, maybe 45, because it's just a lot of like brooding tension. But then as soon as they open the door, with no plan... Shocker, when they're dealing with these fucking violent criminals who do this for a living, you're probably not going to win this.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that we lost 2 of them right away. Like, there's no pacing here. You've taught me the ways of the slasher movies, Alex.
This is like a realistic one.
Yeah, they're not evenly spaced every 10 minutes or whatever. It's like to go. Here's the sad part: it's the 2 more interesting guys in the band. I don't really care for Anton Yelchin. You were halfway through the movie, and he's been very vanilla, very shy, and out of everybody, he seems to be the one that's the most overwhelmed by the situation, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas like Reese is the guy that knows how to wrestle, knows some MMA, and Tiger is the guy that at least seems to have a level head, right? He's the one that spots the duct tape, and he's like, all right, well, let's use duct tape to fix Anton Yelchin's arm. And so the 2 more resourceful / useful guys, who are the guys that would make the movie interesting to watch, are dispatched within 2 minutes of each other. And my feeling was like, well, fuck. I guess I'm rooting for maybe now.
I got some bad news for you on that front.
Well, she gets the unlimited fire extinguisher in this scene.
This is true. Yes. So, Julio, it is a phrase that is near and dear to our hearts. Even before we started this podcast, as it comes from The delivery of it in one of our favorite films is iconic. Did you catch how Professor X described the situation at hand?
No, somebody calls it a clusterfuck, but it's not him.
No, Captain Picard refers to it as a pig fuck.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Because he even says, we need to take the pig fuck out of the pigsty or something.
Why do you ask questions if you already have your answers? Pig fuck. That's what we needed him to snap at Oppenheimer's lawyer.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, big white supremacist fan.
For those who have no idea what we're talking about, in The Master, Philip Seymour Hoffman snaps at one point and calls this doubter a pig fuck. It's phenomenal. So if you ever wondered what that would be like to come out of the mouth of Sir Patrick Stewart, this movie's got you covered, baby. Pat, Amber, and Sam retreat to the green room. Darcy sends Daniel into the club to kill the band, who Darcy claims murdered Emily. Amber tells Daniel that Worm murdered Emily after discovering Daniel and Emily's plan to leave the skinheads. Daniel agrees to help them escape and leads the band into the club. And this guy's awful at it too. And he should know their fucking tricks. He gets shot in the head immediately.
He's too busy bragging about how he knows where they hide the guns.
That is like the slasher trope of like to begin the third act, the possible moment of hope where they get the car started, or they get through the gate that was locked, and then the killer shows up right away. Here he's like, right this way, and then bam, right in the fucking head.
So this is a half-ass attempt to humanize a neo-Nazi, right? Like this kid, the idea is that him and the girl that got killed were going to flee. They were leaving Patrick Stewart's compound. They were breaking off from the tribe. And then that's why she got killed, and that's why eventually he gets killed. So he'd had a change of heart?
Well, yeah, but then it's also overwhelmed by the Macon Blair redemption arc also.
Yeah, we'll get there. I don't know. That's more about our guys being dumb. But this kid is on the filmmakers, right? Like I think Jeremy Saulnier was like, all right, we can't have all neo-Nazis be bad. So how about we have one that has been thinking about it, and maybe he's not completely comfortable with every single thing they do at this bar. So he's got to try to leave. And of course, we got to kill him right away. So we don't have to explore that any further. It was annoying because I was like, all right, I guess they're introducing this guy to replace the two we just lost. Because realistically, we're at like 2.5 right now, right? We have... We have Imogen Poots, and then we have Anton Yelchin, who not only doesn't have the spine to really be an action hero, but he's one-armed because his left arm is destroyed, and in theory, he should just be in a coma from all the pain. Like we saw his arm, that he shouldn't be moving. So I was like, all right, bring in the reinforcements, bring me this guy, and then of course he's the first one to go.
Yeah, and also during all this. Anton Yelchin is attempting to tell this, I guess, parable about his friend Rick Silva in this paintball game that they had. And one of the band members is like, now's not the time, let's go. And then that's when he immediately gets killed, which it turns out the Rick Silva game plan is kind of what wins him the day.
I was hoping he would be talking about the Community episode once he started talking about paintballing, but not the case.
As they prepare to, head out, I did start a small CZW chant in my living room as Maybe armed herself with a broken light tube. I was like, let's fucking go. Get some Nick Gage action up in here.
I was thinking of the 40-year-old virgin.
Oh, when they just are throwing those light tubes at each other?
Yeah. It's a lot more lighthearted.
Oh, yeah. That's, they cut you, but I remember a wrestler, Sabu, just talking about how stupid light tubes are. And I always think of that scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin. He's like, they don't hurt. It's like if you hit them on bare skin, yeah, it's going to cut you up. But any person just takes 5 seconds can realize this isn't really going to hurt. But if you're like Michael Myers, you can wield it and stab it through someone's throat. Who ends up living and making it to the third movie where she can't speak anymore, and it's all fucking Jamie Lee Curtis's fault. But yeah, they get out. They kill the bartender who shot Danny in the head. They take his shotgun. Elia Shawkat had the Hayden Panettiere deal. She gets killed off screen. A dog attacks her, and yeah, she's out ski. So
dogs are 2-0, right? Like 2 dogs, or maybe it's the same dog, but they've taken 2 of the band members. They killed Tiger, and now they killed Maybe. Did it ever make you uncomfortable that we were setting up the dogs as these weapons which meant that at some point a dog was probably going to get hurt.
Of course. You know me, man. I don't dig that.
Yep.
And also, like, it's so violent. That dude gets his fucking throat eaten out. It's not quite Django Unchained levels of, dogs eating human violence, but it's pretty bad. But the one dog gets, the really weird sentimental shot at the end.
Yes.
We'll circle back to that when we get there.
You fed him yet today?
Doesn't matter. They're professionals.
You might lose a couple by morning, maybe a bunch.
Like I said, they're pros. They earn.
Darcy's men wound Amber, that's Imogene Poots, but she's able to scramble back to the green room with Pat.
This just becomes comical. This is the third time they've locked themselves in the green room.
I know, they just keep returning.
Yeah, and every time it's less people. They keep losing people. These kids have no strategy. Or whatever strategy they have is terrible. For every step forward they take 2 steps backwards. And now it's just down to the very injured Anton Yelchin and Imogen Poots, who's been shot. There is no realistic scenario where they win. Didn't you feel that way? By the time we got to this point, I was like, that's it. They got the upper hand. Even more so, they got the keys from Maybe. When they killed her, they got the keys, which was the main reason why they were kind of being restrained with their attacks, right? Because they can't shoot them. They have to stab them, which means that the band members have a little bit of a chance against them. But now they have the keys and they have 3 bodies, which means that Patrick Stewart goes, doesn't matter anymore. And honestly, I was asking about the dog because this pissed me off. They're going to, originally looks like they're going to send the dogs to attack, right? Because the way that they're going to set it up is they're going to make it look like they trespass and then the dogs killed them. So they need to look like they've been killed by dogs. But now that they have 3 bodies, then that means that, well, that's enough. If they never find Anton Yelchin's body, that's fine. So instead of sending the dog, they send 2 neo-Nazis after them. But before Patrick Stewart makes that decision or makes that announcement, they inject the dog with something, right? And then the guy, the dog owner, the dog trainer goes, well, this is going to keep the dog alive for an hour. And my wish is that he dies eating meat or something. And I was like, well, that was unnecessary. Why are you injecting the dog and sending him off to potentially die when you already know that you don't need that and you're going to send the 2 guys with guns anyway? And this is the dog that gets the sentimental tracking shot later in the movie. That was, with all the bad stuff that happens in this movie, that was probably the most despicable act in my mind. As I was watching, it was like, motherfucker, you didn't have to inject the dog with anything. You didn't have to send the dog. You're already sending your neo-Nazis in there to finish the job. Just let the dog be. But these people are the worst.
They are Nazis.
Yes.
Yeah, my note just says this shit is going because, like, as soon as they get out, we've taken 2 trips out of the green room and we've come back each time with substantially less life. So it's just down to Anton Yelchin and Imogene Poots here. When they lock themselves back in the green room, we get the conclusion to the anecdote about Rick Silva, who, when he tried to play paintball against, some tacticians, some Marines, that when he took an educated approach, he was just getting slaughtered. But when he went out, fucking guns ablazing, just a big ball of fire. And that's when he succeeded. So I guess that's what they realize they have to do here.
Is this Anton Yelchin's Oscar clip?
I would definitely think so. But it's also Imogene Poots kind of clears up. He's like, and then he just kept shooting until everyone was dead. And she reminds him, like, pretend dead. This is real life here, motherfucker. So they make the decision that they're going to go out fighting. And this also includes a makeover of sorts. As Darcy sends the skinheads, Jonathan and Kyle, to kill Pat and Amber, he leaves with the bodies, planning to stage their deaths to appear as though they were killed trespassing. Pat lures Jonathan into the drug lab, while Kyle remains in the green room. This is where the aforementioned makeover comes in, because they, like, painted each other's faces. Anton Yelchin even shaved his head. When they come in, he's got his back turned, and he's just yelling nonsense, and they say, who is that? And he turns around and he says, Odin himself, the god of war, of course. So that was a bit interesting.
Yeah, my note says, what is this plan? Would this have worked when they had more people?
It could have.
Like they all shaved their heads?
Oh, that'd be dope. They just walk in and they're like, oh, it's just more of us. And also they could have caused a bigger distraction so people could have like hid behind the door and come out. I mean, there was a germ of a good idea behind this. Amber ambushes Kyle and cuts his throat with a box cutter. It's pretty fucking nasty. As Pat fights Jonathan, Amber sneaks up and shoots him. Gabe enters the green room to find his companions dead and surrenders to Pat and Amber. Pretty good dark comedy here in this sequence where she shoots this dude twice in the head and then looks at Anton Yelchin and goes, "Got him." I thought that was pretty funny.
It doesn't surprise me from her. It made a little less sense when Anton Yelchin quipped back. It was like, yeah, you flabbergasted the hell out of him or something. It was like, your friends are dead. Why are you quipping? This is a moment where he should have just broken down in tears.
Also, they stress like the importance of like the realism of ammo, like all the different, guns. They really stress there's only like 3 bullets left or 3 shells. And then it goes from that to, fucking Henny Youngman one-liners that they're exchanging.
Double tapping a Nazi.
Yeah. Holding Gabe at gunpoint, the group treks through the woods. When Pat hears Darcy and his men staging the crime scene, he and Amber go after them. Gabe volunteers to go into a farm and call the police. Pat and Amber kill 2 skinheads there. Clark is one of them. He actually gets a name.
That's the dog trainer?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah. So yeah, Pat and Amber kill him and just another random skinhead there. Henchman number 7. Fleeing, Darcy pulls a revolver from his jacket but is shot dead by Pat and Amber. Were you it's upsetting to watch Patrick Stewart get shot in the head.
It's a weird combination of upsetting but also underwhelming. He was the last boss. He was, even Anton Yelchin comments on it, like, you were scarier when it was not daylight. And then they shoot him and he just dies like an old man. He doesn't even get, like, he fires a shot but he misses. It's just, if this is a movie trying to tell us that evil is really not as scary once you face it head on, I think that Anton Yelchin's friends would say otherwise. So that doesn't work for me. Also doesn't work the aforementioned Macon Blair redemption or attempted redemption. I don't understand everything. You can explain everything if you just assume that Anton Yelchin and his friends are dumb, right? Why would you trust him? They're like, go get the police. What? Why would he go get the police? Imogen Poots can barely stand and she tells him, if you disappear, I will find you. What? Explain to me why Macon Blair doesn't just take off and go somewhere else. Go find the next neo-Nazi commune in the next county.
That's the sequel, is him wandering the country trying to find his next like Nazi compound to call his home. He stops at like Amish farms along the way, to make some money.
Every time he's settling in, a minority comes in. He's like, fuck. Back up.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I guess if it was Amish, he wouldn't make money, but he would, find a place to sleep and have some free food and, do some work around here. But yeah, then he would mysteriously disappear when women got into positions of power.
Yeah.
Call the cops when you get there. If you disappear, I'll find you.
I will. I promise.
And then the other thing, which was this, you can probably see coming, listeners can see coming. My constant complaint, it's not that this movie's long, but the movie's called Green Room. It's about these people trapped in the green room. The moment they escape the green room, the movie's over. And I just didn't understand why they went on this side quest when they already finished the game. You know what I mean? Like, they're home free. Everybody else is dead. Go get the police yourself. I don't understand why they felt the need to go look at Patrick Stewart in the face, especially because Anton Yelchin makes it clear that he was not intending to kill anybody. So what was he going to do?
It's almost like Saw in that way. If like Saw, the movie was, it started and there was like the trap, the puzzle, and the person figures it out and then just leaves the room and then it's over. Like Saw's like 5 minutes long.
This is the opposite. They figure out what the trap does and then they just stay in the room.
Yeah.
Like, what else? Are there any other traps? What other trouble can I get into?
I'm just going to hang out here for a while. So hopefully a game plan will come to us of some sort.
So the dog, Alex, what do you make of this poor dog has been drugged, sent over to attack the remaining members of the band, driven away with feedback from a microphone against an amp.
We cut back to it several times throughout like the third act of this dog just walking on the side of the road. And it's sweet because the dog wants to get back to its owner. And when the dog does, the owner's been shot and dead and it just lays down next to him. And it's like, the idea of that is very sweet and endearing and like the tale of the loyalty of, a dog. But it's also like, what was the purpose of this? Yeah.
Why are you trying to make me feel these feelings? They're so like the story of a dog that's employed, so to speak, by an evil person, but the dog doesn't know any better. So then at the end, it just goes and lays its head on the dead evil person's lap. Like that's like a short film that is kind of powerful and very emotional, but it doesn't belong at the end of this movie. I felt like this was just over. It was over when they escaped the green room, and it was definitely over by the time that they shot Captain Picard in the head. Which was, by the way, a very interesting Star Trek moment because it's Captain Picard being shot by Chekov from different timelines. But
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I'm sure the Federation had something to say about that. It was weird. It was just... It's not so much that it felt like manipulation, but it just felt like badly placed manipulation. It would be different. Can you imagine if the dog comes back and it lays its head on Anton Yelchin's lap?
Ah.
Now you're saying something. I don't know what, but at least it feels like... Then it feels like I'm missing something. This other way it feels like I got it, and it just doesn't work.
It is interesting. The dog just kind of saunters by, not paying any mind to Imogen Poots or Anton Yelchin, and they both try to shoot it, but they're out of ammo.
Yeah.
So... In addition to Professor X, all of the skinheads that got in the way are now deceased, making Blair's out roaming, trying to find a way to contact the police and begin, the second act of his life. And
did you buy that, by the way? I just gave it a lot of shit, but in Jeremy Saulnier's defense, I guess, he does give us several close-ups of Macon Blair throughout the movie where it feels like maybe he's not 100% on board with what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would think any logical human would also have those feelings.
It wasn't enough for me to go, oh yeah, they should spare his life.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But the movie ends with Pat and Amber sitting on the side of the road. They're just kind of waiting for the cops there. And then one of the things that's been a constant throughout the movie is this question of Desert Island Band or musician. And Anton Yelchin, Pat, has never answered the question. And he turns to Amber and he's like, I have an answer for Desert Island Band. And she says, tell someone who gives a shit. And that's the end of the movie. Do you have a Desert Island Band, Julio? I figured that'd be a good place to end Contrarians Corner here.
I think I have to be boring and just go with my favorite band. So for me, it would be Counting Crows. For you, would it be Springsteen?
I don't know. I've always thought of Desert Island albums. Like, if I had a gun to my head right now and someone was like, one album, rest of the time, I'd probably blurt out Alice in Chains Unplugged because that's the album I always think of. But as far as like a body of work, Springsteen, Oasis, Ramones, Blink, like you said, the kind of boring answers. I do love the one guy that says Prince. I was like, hell yeah, man.
Well, but they say it when they think they're about to die. That was the fun part.
That's their like bonding moment. That's they're about to arrive on the shores of Normandy, and instead of tell my wife and kids I love them, it's like Prince. And the one guy's like, yeah, still Misfits for me. I thought that was really funny. It's a dangerous answer, though, because as I've discussed on here before on our Patreon, Misfits, their catalog is not the biggest. So it's a curious answer, quizzical answer.
Do you have any guesses as far as Anton Yelchin's selection?
I don't. He's a bit of a rube in this movie, Pat, that is, and I couldn't get a clean read on him. Maybe like Don Henley. He's mentioned Steely Dan at one point. Just goes all in and commits to like the Eagles for the end till the end of time.
Maybe he's a film buff. He goes, the Oneaters.
There you go. That'd be a hell of a way to end it.
Not the Wonders, the Oneaters.
Yeah. Or, he just, Hans Zimmer. He like cites some fucking composer. But anyway, that was Green Room. And yeah, once we got out of the Green Room, we lost some folks along the way, but we got there in the end, just took the scenic route.
More decisively than in Green Book, this time we beat racism, at least in this very specific pocket of America.
Made skinheads scared again, which is all we can really aim to do.
Yeah. One skinhead at a time. One Captain Picard at a time. Are you ready for real talk, Alex?
I am. I'm very curious where you reside with this movie. I told you when we hopped on, I don't know what I was expecting, but this was not it. So let's move to some real talk.
Let's do it.